Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of Dunks and Donuts. This is Dunks and Donuts After Dark, and it is a special because today is International Women's Day.
And it's also
Before we
dark.
it is also dark out, yes. So big brain right there. Good job.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I do, on behalf of myself and the Dunks and Donuts crew, we want to send our condolences to the family of Akira Toriyama. Dragon Ball Z was a huge part of my life growing up, and I know so many people that show has affected in a positive way. I mean, behind me, I have a photo of Gohan autographed by the voice actress. So, again, my condolences to Akira Toriyama's family. But enough about that. Like I said, it is International Women's Day, so we wanted to do a special to talk about women in sports. And I'm going to start with Ryan. So, Ryan, tell the listeners about an important woman in your life that, whether they got you into sports or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I will say happy International Women's Day to all of the women listening, especially the women and the men, but especially the women. But happy International Women's Day. Heck yes. So, in sports specifically, I would say that my only introduction to sports at all was through women. I didn't, although my mom was a huge basketball fan and enjoyed watching the NBA and played basketball throughout high school, and were main state champs like quite a few years in a row.
That's cool.
I was never really interested in the NBA when I was little. I was not a sports girl. I was always awkward and just chubby, and it just didn't work out. But my mom always wanted to coach basketball, and she ended up coaching my 4th and 5th grade basketball team. I don't know if it ended up being something that I chose to do on my own and mentioned it to her and she jumped at it, or if she sort of kind of inched me towards it. I'm not sure, and she's lucky I'm not sure, because I would hold it against her if she had inched me towards it. But I'm just kidding. But so my mom is really a huge representation of sports in general for me. I didn't ever, as a little kid, think much about boys playing sports. I grew up in a single mom household, so it was just the two of us, and there were no boys around. And I think it's funny, I was just telling Jared before we started recording, but it's funny to think that now the space that I exist in, which is obviously our podcast, but the Celtics community in general and social media surrounding sports and women in sports or trying to be involved and find an equal place, it is such a different viewpoint. Because when I was little, truly, I didn't, as little kids don't always, I didn't see any, I had to learn the inequality, so to speak, between men and women in sports. And I was really lucky to grow up not knowing that girls sometimes aren't allowed to play basketball. I just, it's really interesting to me. But my mom by far really impacted the way I still view basketball, why I love it, why so much of it is about heart for me rather than doing really well. When I was in 5th grade, my mom took our entire little basketball team out to dinner after our championship, and She gave out awards to everyone, and she gave me the award for having the most heart. And like, yeah, it's my mom and everything, but I think about that now, and I'm just like, that's so crazy how that's gone on to shape how I view the NBA and how important Marcus was to me, or even just I love an underdog. I love an
Right.
underdog. I love someone that shows up. And we used to like do run suicides in practice, and I was always the girl that everyone had to keep clapping for because like she was finished, and everyone was like, "Go Ryan, you got this!" And it's just kind of so interesting to think of that juxtaposition. But yeah, my mom definitely really cemented the way that I view sports and basketball and why they matter. Um, and it's helped me stay steadfast sort of in the way I approach basketball and talk about it now. Um, I don't I don't like the whole stat hunting. I mean, I'm thrilled for a banner, but it's not the most important thing to me. Like, so yeah, that's a long-winded answer of that.
No, I think that's a great answer. And from everything, I mean, just even outside the recording that you've told me about your mom and
Mhm.
the one small interaction outside of Twitter I've had with her when we were on the phone the other day when I was freaking out. Your mom seems like such an angel, such a great, great person. And
You had
it
said,
makes,
you said I had you on speaker and you were like, did you say you were going to New Bedford, I think, right?
yeah,
And my mom does not have a Massachusetts accent. She's from Maine, but she doesn't have an accent. She
yeah.
she used to be a news anchor, so she has a very voice. But she from the other room yells, "Why are you going to New Bedford?"
Yeah. Because I think my Boston accent, which I'm sure you've heard it before, comes out in the most random times. And at this point,
Yeah.
I was so excited that it was just like so blatant. And I think that
Yeah,
was
and
your
she'll
mom's.
jump at any
Yeah.
opportunity. Like even if I mention Worcester, like she's full on Worcester.
Yeah.
Like, chill.
But no, your mom seems like an amazing, amazing person. And that's a great story. And you kind of hit on it a little bit. Like it makes sense why Marcus is your favorite player.
Yeah, it
Because when you
totally
were
does.
young, you had the most heart, according to your mom. So you see Marcus on the court, he has the most heart. So that's great.
It's like the
For me,
cringiest, but very cute still to me story
yeah,
because I love
no,
my
it's
mom so much.
no, that is so fantastic. And I think for me, my mom is also
Mhm,
that. So on this opposite side of that same coin, for anybody who didn't read my Jason Tatum SoFi article,
mhm.
I also grew up in a single mom household.
Yes.
Um, and my mom and I had a very rocky relationship in my later teen years. But growing up, she was so supportive of any sport that I wanted to play. And I didn't have a father figure really consistently in my
Mhm,
life. So I wanted to play baseball. My mom would help the coaches. She would bring me to all the practices, go to all my games. When I played football, she legitimately would be on the sidelines helping the coaches coach the
mhm,
team. And she was just so incredible. And what got me into basketball was my mom actually, I think it was around the same grades, fourth and fifth grade. It
mhm,
might have even been a little bit younger, around third grade. My mom coached the girls' basketball team for my school. And there would be times where I would go, and my mom got them to the playoffs,
mhm,
which is something that school hadn't done ever.
mhm,
Granted, they lost, but like just the fact my mom was able to do that. My mom, she's an incredible athlete. Like she used to be an incredible athlete. She
mhm.
played basketball a lot when she was younger. My grandfather actually coached her team, which was pretty cool. So it was
That's
like kind of,
awesome.
yeah. So
That's
for me,
awesome.
it was always full circle. And um, there was one point where I had played baseball for like 8 years at this point, and I really like genuinely thought about quitting baseball to go play lacrosse.
Mhm,
And as much as my mom loves baseball, like obsessed, has the Red Sox B tattooed on her ankle.
Mhm.
She completely was supportive, like, yeah, if that's what you want to do. We went, we got me all the equipment, and I ended up not liking lacrosse as much as baseball, and that just, was it. But I completely, in the similar vein, like, my mom was a big reason why I got into sports.
Mhm.
I remember when we were little, or when I was little, she would always take me to all the autograph signings for the Red Sox players. We'd go wait in line at Modell's when like the Red Sox would win the World Series and like to buy all the gear. We were at every single parade for the championships. And it just the memories I have with my mom around sports are just so amazing.
I have
And it
2 things to say about that, specifically about your mom. 1, I have to ask, did she have the tattoo before you were born?
no, she did not.
Okay, so then my second question is, I just love women because she definitely, even if she really loved baseball, I'm sure she just really, really, really loved baseball because you did. And she showed up and got totally invested in it. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, she was so like I said, she was so amazing and supportive with my sports upbringing. And like I said, in my teen years, her and I had a bit of a rocky relationship. But when I got to high school and I
Mhm,
wanted to stop playing sports, as
mhm.
disappointed as she was, like she understood and she was again very supportive.
And still
So
let you follow what you thought was best for you.
yes, no, for sure. And you know, it's just such an important. I actually texted her. I was like, "Happy International Women's Day, Mom. I love you." Like today when I got home. So
It's a nice thing to
shout out
do.
my mom. But
I know. Shout out to my mom. Hi, mom.
uh,
She might have watched the first 3 minutes of this, but you're still
yeah, I
here.
mean,
That's
I
impressive.
don't even right. Like I don't even know if my mom's gonna watch the full episode, but whatever.
She might lie to me. She'll give me a good, "Oh, yeah, Ryan. No, 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 no. I definitely heard it." Like,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Mom. What did I say?
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned you.
Yeah. No, if I tell my mom I mentioned her, she's gonna like go
This
and
is
like
what I'm
search
saying.
for it.
My mom be like, "Oh, did you mention me by name? Did you mention my Twitter? I have a Twitter."
Um, you're like, no, we're not plugging that.
No, actually, never mind. I didn't mention you at
Yeah.
all.
Um, enough about that though. Let's talk about some women in like athletes that,
Yes,
you know,
women in
first off,
sports
I know,
specifically.
oh yeah, no, I know you're not a big tennis person at all, but we have to talk about the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena Williams. Those two are absolute legends in any sport, in my opinion, right? Like
Yes.
what they've done, the challenges they've overcome are just some of the most incredible achievements that two, not only just women, but women of color had to
Mhm.
overcome to get to where they are is absolutely impeccable. For anybody who
Especially
doesn't
with being so frequently suppressed and their opportunities so frequently suppressed already as a woman, but as a white woman, my opportunities are so much less, I guess it's not so much that it's intensive, but it's more so I have the ability to exist in a little bit more of a space. But for any woman of color to try to break into any professional sports industry in general and then be able to kind of combat that sort of constant negativity and being pushed back and kind of not being given any type of opportunity that if a white girl were to show up would end up with, and still persevering through that and being so dedicated to what they love is just incredible.
100%. And for anybody who doesn't really know the story of the Williams sisters, and I could talk about this, but that would take up a whole hour in and of itself because I do love them so much. Watch the movie King Richard. Will Smith is the main actor. He plays their father, and it's about the upbringing of the Williams sisters. It's a great movie. It's absolutely terrific. I'm not sure where it's streaming, but definitely go check that out if you're interested in their story. Another tennis player who is taking the world by storm is Coco Gauff. She is the youngest U.S. Open winner since Serena Williams. She's 19 years old.
Crazy.
And at just the age of 15, she defeated Venus Williams in the first round of Wimbledon. Like, these aren't small matches. Like, these are championship level matches in like the playoffs for the NBA or the MLB, like whatever. And at 15, she's beating who is arguably the greatest female tennis player of all time, who could just be the best tennis player of all time.
Yep.
I think that is absolutely insane at 15.
It's also like a very passing of the torch moment. That sounds awesome. That's really cool. Kind of just an incredible talent to be able to go full circle like that is awesome.
Yeah, I remember I tuned in live to that because like I heard she was playing well, and tennis matches can go forever, right? Like they can be very long. So I remember tuning in, and I remember just watching her win it live, and I just was like, what? Like, what did we just witness? That's history right there.
Crazy.
But yeah, and then like I said, at 19, becoming the youngest since Serena Williams to win the U.S. Open. Coco is taking the world by storm, and she's absolutely impeccable. And I have one more woman in sports that I'd like to talk about, and then the reins are all yours, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I need to talk about Simone Biles. I mean, if you know the Olympics, if you know athletes, you know Simone Biles. She is a freak of nature athlete, like once in a lifetime athlete, this girl. And she's the first gymnast to win 6 world all-around titles. She's won 30 world championship medals, 23 of which are gold. That's nuts. Like,
imagine that percentage. Just imagine that.
Like,
ridiculous.
That's
it doesn't. You don't even have to know a sport to hear that and be like, "Wow, that's a lot of gold medals in comparison to other material."
Yes, like it's crazy. Like it's crazy how talented Simone Biles is. And I'll tell you a quick funny story. So, her husband plays in the NFL. He played for the Panthers for a while, and then I believe the last team he was on was the Packers. And when he met her, he like had no idea. He just like swiped on her on like Tinder or something, and then they like hit it off. And then he was like, "Oh, like."
I remember this story. Yeah.
Yes. So I thought that was a cute story.
Adorable.
But I know you have quite a few athletes that you want to talk
for sure. About. I have quite a few athletes in general. Of course, my mom already being the first one, but kind of where that all. I had to trace it back this morning, and then while Jared and I were talking before I started recording, where and why I even liked basketball and MMA, because those are really the only 2 sports that I love watching and I'm super dedicated to. It doesn't take anything for me. You can put on any basketball game. It doesn't have to be the NBA. It doesn't have to be the WNBA. It doesn't have to be college ball. It doesn't matter what it is. If I get 30 seconds in front of the screen, I'm like hooked to it. And I'll end up having to participate. And I had to first, when we decided to do this episode, really think about why that is, that I'm so crazy about it. And the only other thing, the only other thing that's like that is MMA. And I only really got into MMA I think it was like right at the start of the pandemic. I don't know what it was. I guess I must have just seen something on Twitter because I was at home so much at that point. And coincidentally, I had just gotten sober. So I was just learning that I liked things again and finding things that I actually enjoyed other than just like drinking and yelling at people. So, although that was great, by the way. But I
I feel like you yell at me
started.
enough, so it's fine.
I really do. To keep like turning.
Yeah. Yeah. But you might want to turn your mic back up.
Okay, sorry. I won't. I won't fuck around with it.
This is what you get with Dunks and Donuts After Dark, by the way. So, like,
it's gone.
yeah, this is
Say
great.
it's all gone. It's not even.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I think we're having a great time. I'm
Yeah.
super excited to make the little neon sign After Dark. Like,
It's
I
gonna be
get
awesome.
way
Yeah.
too into it. It's actually, I think the best part about this After Dark concept is, first of all, International Women's Day, right? So I can be as obnoxious as I want, and if anyone's annoying to me, I'll just tell them it's International Women's Day, and so leave me alone. It's like my birthday, but better.
It's like that tweet you put out. You I'm not gonna say what it is, but you posted a screenshot and you were like, "It's International Women's Day and God is nowhere to be found."
Nowhere.
That was
I
funny.
swear, and I feel like most people will know what we're talking about. That receiving, on such a on God's great national International Women's Day, you're going to send me an unsolicited photo and just say hi, and God was nowhere to be found. And someone said something else super funny, that God is a woman and even she is afraid.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, yep. She is. She said, yeah, Jesus take the wheel. I'm all good. Like,
Yeah.
but
No, that was just like I
and
saw
then I
that.
found out that somebody bookmarked it, and I was like, get in my car. I will drive you to church.
Yeah. Like, I don't think church is the place they need to go.
Honestly, true, probably.
But
Never
yeah.
mind. No church.
No, but we just got totally sidetracked.
Woo, women. Am I right or am I
Yeah.
right?
No. Back to your MMA.
Is that what we were talking about?
It started with you saying you had just got sober, you were getting into MMA, but you had fun yelling at people, and then you started yelling at me. So that's where this all full circle on Dunks and Donuts After Dark.
At least you're here because that trail was gone. I didn't have that. I had no thread to pull from.
Think about my brain, like my one brain cell. It's like from Bird Box, where it's like blindfolded, but it has the rope to like hopefully know where it's going.
Hold this rope and don't make a sound.
Yeah. So
Okay, so
yeah.
MMA, which is
Yeah.
what we're talking about, and women. But so I started watching MMA. It doesn't matter why, but I remember I first saw Amanda Nunes, of course, right? And she is this absolutely beautiful, strong, graceful, yet somehow so mechanical fighter that I remember seeing for the first time and thinking that I guess what it was is I was just like, wow, how impressive this person is. And I just want to watch more of her doing this. I mean, like, this is what she does best. And she has this sort of aura where you want to watch her do the things she's really good at. And I started to realize with watching MMA that, first of all, there's only so many female fighters. There's a reason there aren't a lot of, and I'm talking about UFC specifically, but it doesn't make a difference. It's kind of next to like other countries entirely. There's really not a huge female MMA presence that, I mean, first of all, that's above 150 pounds, which is crazy to think that there's no weight class for women above, just I started to realize that I loved Amanda and I wanted to watch her fight. And I didn't get to watch her fight a lot because there just weren't that many women for her to fight. Because honestly, there wasn't. Dana White, of course, runs the UFC and he owns the UFC. And to bring it back to the first female UFC fighter, which was Ronda Rousey, to quote Dana White, nobody wants to watch a pretty girl get hit in the face. And
real quick, that reminds me of a tweet you put out. I forget the exact wording, but I will reference it in this. It was something like, I would happily let Amanda Nunes punch me in the face and I would thank her.
Yes. I would.
So,
I said, and I would say, thank you, ma'am. Can I have some more? That's what.
Yes, that is what it is. But no, just what you were talking about, where like with the Dana White quote, where you were like, pretty girls don't want to get punched in the face. That was like the first thing I thought of was that exact tweet. So
yep. Well, it's such an interesting concept. I think the whole thing is so interesting in that why would it matter what you wanted to see? You know what I mean? I think I hear that and I'm like, no, it sounds like you don't want to watch that. And it sounds like women probably don't care what you think.
Yeah.
I understand it's your company, of course, but to act as if there isn't 51% of the population that may be interested in that. And just so you know, their money is also green. I just like, I thought about that for so long after I heard it, because then he eventually did put in a women's division and Ronda Rousey was very similar to, now not in fighting style or anything like that, but very similar in dominance of belts as Amanda. They like came in and wow, no one can beat you. Like, I mean, Ronda has her armbar, which was her signature move, and I mean, would take women out in 20 seconds flat, like just insane. And she had that perfected in a way that was so dynamic and smart. And she managed to totally kind of get the best of both worlds, right? Because this is a sport that still has ring girls, like, and there's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a ring girl. First of all, it's badass. Go off. I think that's super fucking cool. But I will say that I can't really imagine being in a fighting scenario and seeing a female ring girl, just to be redundant, but either way, walking around. And then I go in, and what a huge juxtaposition of the two ways we view women in this situation, right? As a sex object, and empowering or not, it doesn't make a difference. That's kind of what that is. That's the point, is everybody likes to look at pretty girls. I like to look at pretty girls. But then to have Ronda or Amanda or Rose or whoever it may be, Whaley, Joanna, come in and then be this very strong while also being beautiful in such a different way, in a very empowering way in its own right, is so, I guess it just really expands the way you could, I'll say juxtaposition one more time, but the juxtaposition of the two.
You're on fire with these big words today.
I studied before this.
I can tell.
But the comparison of the two, I thought even for Dana White, again, this is clearly a Dana White shit fest. I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry. He hit his wife in the face in public. He also doesn't mind seeing a pretty girl get hit in the face. We can clip this out or not because it's true. But that did happen. Yeah. But I think that he had to allow something that the people wanted more than it mattered what he wanted, or if he thought as well, whatever. I'm going on one. He thought as a man, he was entitled to know exactly what everybody else wanted to see. And he definitely knew better than any stupid girl that was telling him that she wanted to fight.
Right.
And he knew better. Not only did he know the male audience, but he said the female audience, there isn't one. Screw them. And to, first of all, see how that was just really like a house of cards, you know what I mean? Because when the money, after Ronda came in and really was such a quote unquote needle mover, he changed his tune. And I think that's the power of women. I think that's the power of women coming together and showing up. There have been a lot of female dominated cards in the last 2 years, even 3 years, that have been incredible. And like by far some of the best MMA fights I've ever seen, male or female. I mean, like Whaley and Joanna going back and forth, and there's the picture of both of them with their head. I mean, I've never seen anything like two women just stand there for 5 rounds and absolutely just something incredible in a way that we normally celebrate men. You know, I mean, John Jones can do no wrong no matter what. And he is just, if he gets in there and he beats the crap out of somebody, it's awesome. And it's, you know, as a woman, you really don't have that large of a range to make mistakes. So that sort of like very empowering energy is something that kind of only women can bring to something. It's just sort of it's an intangible thing. But yeah, I love women. I love sports, like 2 sports, but I love them.
No, and you are 100% right. And I do want to rewind just a second to talk about Ronda Rousey, because I like UFC. I like combat sports. I'm more into boxing than I am UFC, but I remember like when she like just started taking the world over, like she was taking everything over in UFC, and it was just like this insane run where you couldn't go like a couple of days without hearing about her. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. She took the world by storm, and it was incredible, right? How incredible Ronda's run was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you couldn't go a day without seeing her in the news for something new.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like she broke a ton of records in.
Well, she was the reason that it was created in the first place. So she was the first one for a long time up until Amanda and Whaley in some weight classes, but to hold the title at all.
Right. Yeah. No, she was incredible. And like, that's when my attention shifted to UFC, because I'm like, this is an insane run. Like seeing somebody have this much dominance in any sport is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really like where my interest came from. But I want to divot to something here. And obviously we've said it a lot today, but I mean, I really want to make it a point. It is International Women's Day. It is a day for women to be celebrated in all aspects. So for the remainder of this episode, Ryan is going to take over and she is going to talk about whatever it is she wants to talk about in regards to women in history, women empowerment, whatever it is. And I am going to leave the studio so that she is front and center for everybody to see. So, Ryan, good luck.
I'll need it.
And to everybody watching, thanks for tuning in to Dunks and Donuts After Dark. Here's Ryan.
Here's me. So, hey, we're together now. We're all alone. He won't even he can't, cut me off from doing this whole little bit either. There's nothing he can do. Well, I mean, he could re-enter, but he wouldn't do that to me. But anyway, hey, hi. So I guess I've been spending most of the day. I woke up and of course I checked my phone and checked Twitter as I do. And I saw that it was International Women's Day. And there's something about, I don't know, I love an excuse to, first of all, talk about anything good. I love an excuse to be able to really kind of spend some time and have what seems like a valid societal kind of excuse to talk about, what was I saying? You're gonna have to clip this part up. I read your thing and then what was I saying? Something. Women. Probably women. Boom, boom, boom. Twitter. Checking. Yeah. Okay. So I went and I checked Twitter and I saw that it was International Women's Day. And I love an excuse to be able to celebrate anything, kind of, have that societal excuse to spend more time than usual talking about something that's great, like women, but talk about something that's not only great but so important to me. Not only am I a woman, but I was raised by one singular woman, and then spent a lot of time with another woman, aka my grandma. And those are the two people that raised me and taught me how to be a person. And not only in a sports sort of way, but just in general, taught me how to take care of myself and not be able to push back the feeling that the whole world gives you all the time that you need a man to take care of you, because you don't. And there's this, I always think of this Cher quote, right, where she's being interviewed and the interviewee asks her if she, I can't, I'm trying to think of what she exactly asked her, but Cher ends up saying that her mom had always told her that you need to marry a rich man. And Cher says, Mom, I am a rich man. And I kind of just think about that. And I think about the power and kind of whimsical nature that hearing that come from a woman that believes it has. There's something just really, really special about that. And so today was a really good excuse to be able to talk about women in general, being a woman, especially in sports. As I'm sure a few of you know, I talked about it a lot today on Twitter just because I think it is so important. And a lot of the time, it is difficult to show up, especially online, because it's easier for people to be hurtful and callous and say things that just say anything, you know? Um, and we all feel more confident on the internet, right? But especially in a unadulterated, unfiltered sports discussion where things do get very, very emotional. Now, when everyone's on their best behavior and nobody's upset and nobody's team is losing and nothing, usually it's okay, you know? But the minute anything gets sort of intense, anybody's feelings get hurt, which is what happens when your team loses, by the way, and you feel that's you getting your feelings hurt. Just saying, it happens to me too, but that is what that is. But people, and mainly men, will get aggressive about the fact that they don't always think you are capable of sitting at the same tables and having the same conversations as them. And the thing about that is, not only are we capable, but we've had to become more prepared for these conversations because we'll be questioned on them even more so. The minute and this is not just me, the minute any woman, really, that there is no accolade that takes you out of this equation, the minute you have an opinion on, it doesn't even really have to be an opinion. It can just be you saying something about a sport. There will be at least one guy, and you have to, of course, just as a person, subconsciously start to prepare for that all the time. Before you say anything to anyone, you think, oh gosh, I got to double check exactly what I'm about to say, because if I'm wrong about any of what comes out of my mouth, there will be at least 1 to 5 grown men there to make sure that you're fact checked in a way that they never experience. And I'm not saying that they don't experience being fact checked. That's not, but in that way, where if that interaction doesn't go well, to quote myself from earlier, but they'll tell you that you would be best barefoot and pregnant. It's just like, there are things that people get the opportunity to just show you, who they really are when they say stuff like that. And I think that the best part about women in sports is that women just biologically are less quick to react. And so instead of reacting quickly and without thinking all the time, all the way through, and it isn't a slight, there are ways that it benefits men, you know what I mean? But that added sort of introspection that women can offer in the moment, that I think comes to them by nature, that doesn't always come as quickly to men that are biologically quicker to respond, is so special. I see women talking about basketball. Anna Orford is a great example. She's brilliant and has intelligent, well thought out, concise and confident points of view that she isn't afraid to share, and I see her and I think, wow, how inspiring of a person. She really just is authentically herself. And I think as a woman, I don't know if we all hope to be all the time authentically ourselves, because sometimes you don't like who you are authentically. Sometimes it's a work in progress, but I think we all want that sort of, we all yearn for that confidence of being authentically ourselves and just being here and not caring that, men aren't giving you a round of applause or a nod of approval. It's really, really special. And Anna's a great example, but there are so many. And the best thing about that is that it's kind of like an unspoken, it's not a rule, but it's more of an understanding that we all try to be like that, for each other. We all try to believe in ourselves so that we can support each other and believe in each other. I know that sounds like a bunch of maybe like corny mumbo jumbo, but I don't think it is. And also, it's International Women's Day, so don't be mean. Jeez. But yeah, women are awesome. They're awesome when they want to play sports or talk about sports. They're awesome if they want to stay at home and be a mom. They're awesome if they want to work on Wall Street. They're awesome if they want to open a bakery. And I think supporting each other in the way that women do. And I think frequently we get a bad rap for a lot of stuff, but you couldn't possibly, leave women alone in a room together because they'll just argue. And I just don't think that's true. I just have never experienced that. I've only ever known women by nature to be very kind and compassionate. And obviously there are mean people that happen to be women, but women by nature are wonderful creatures. And I think rather than, I guess, focusing anymore on anything negative, really it's just about being and showing up for each other the way we do now. It's all over sports Twitter. There's always, if one woman is going through something or one person, says something that's relatively unacceptable to say to another human being, there's always girls there that will back you up. And there's something about having another girl back you up when there's just something special about it. There is no comparison, and yeah, happy International Women's Day. It's a pretty cool day. It's nice to love women all the time, but if you're still, it's 10:30 now. So if you listen to this before the end, if it's even 11:55 where you are, tell a woman that, hey, good job. It's pretty cool that you're being a woman because you're awesome. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I mean, God knows I could keep talking, but I think that kind of covers it. So yeah, this was Dunks and Donuts After Dark. Jared just told me to do an outro. I'm doing an outro. I'm outroing. Okay. But thank you for coming and listening to, if you made it this far, God bless you. And thanks for coming and hanging out at Dunks and Donuts After Dark.